I'm going to show you a series of words and terms, and I'd like you to tell me, what do they all have in common? They each contain some form of the word suspicious. But what else do they have in common? Ah, that's right. How about we take a look?
This encounter took place in the parking lot behind a Dave & Buster's in Marietta, Georgia, where a man known by his first name as Ron parked his car in a quiet corner with his dog inside. His goal, simply to check out the venue for an upcoming fraternity event. But before he could even step out, an officer pulled up, initiated contact, and began detaining him, allegedly for suspicious activity. The man knew his rights, and as you'll see, that alone seemed to rattle the officers involved.
What is your name and badge number?
Officer Turner, 3627.
Okay, thank you. I got pulled over. Well, I'm not pulled over. I parked in the Dave & Buster's parking lot, and I parked all the way in the back because I had my dog in the car. I didn't want anyone to be disturbed by the dog being in the car, and he's saying that he's detaining me for suspicious activity, but that's not a crime because I parked in the back.
I just need a
supervisor.
54 at Dave & Buster's. Start a supervisor. He's going to buy some wine. All right, stay right here. Let me get my notebook because I'm going to need your name and date of birth.
You won't. I am not gonna speak until the supervisor gets here.
Well, so you can falsely. So you're not going to identify.
I'm not gonna falsely identify. I just want to speak to a supervisor.
Well, so that you still need to identify yourself when an officer asks for you while I'm investigating something.
It's the same thing that so many cops do. They want your ID to run you for warrants, so now they start going into their little grab bag. All of a sudden, now he's investigating something, even though he can't articulate what he's investigating. This is where the police need to be challenged and challenged hard. Oh, you're investigating something. That means you're investigating a crime. What crime are you investigating? And how is getting hold of my ID going to tell you whether or not I'm involved in criminal activity? For the record, Ron does a really good job here. In fact, he does a really good job throughout most of this video.
He's suspected of a crime.
So
and I'm not suspected of a crime.
You even said
Sir,
yourself,
I'm not suspected of a crime.
Me? You literally just said that you are even. This is even suspicious being back here. You're parked back here. This is a well-known drug area.
That's what you.
Among other things, I wish every American knew that term happenstance of geography and the way that cops use it to try and screw people out of their rights.
You were going to say, I don't do drugs.
No, I didn't say you did drugs.
I'm 55 years old. I don't do drugs.
Did I say that you did drugs?
But you're saying, you're grouping me. Wait, hold on. You're grouping me.
You keep interrupting me right now. We're not going to do that.
You're grouping me with other people.
Here's what's how to happen. I need you to just identify yourself. All right?
I'll wait for a supervisor.
You're in a suspicious... Okay. So I'm going to say right now, don't move right there.
You're not allowed to touch my card. No seizures and searches.
399 Corona, 28 Georgia. Charlie Whiskey Sierra 3953. Good CWS 3953.
How's it going?
That's not a supervisor, so.
I was being polite. Can I get your name and badge number?
Maze 3681.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yep.
And he pulled me over and said I'm suspicious.
Yeah.
Well, he even didn't pull me over. I was parked.
Well, we have a lot of suspicious activity that happens.
But suspicion is not a crime.
Huh?
Suspicion is not a crime.
But it gives us reason to identify people and
Do you really think he believes that, or is he just blowing smoke?
investigate because we do have a lot of drug activity that happens back here.
I don't do drugs. I still want to know why I'm being detained.
I've already tried to explain to you while you interrupted me. So, like you said, and I'm going to tell you what you're telling me. We're going to wait for the sergeant to get here, like you're wanting.
Okay.
So, if you're not going to talk before the sergeant gets here...
I was talking to you. You're the one that wouldn't listen to me.
So, we're not going to talk until the sergeant gets here, like you requested.
Okay. Fine.
He's just trying to figure out what's going on.
No, he had a hot head. Am I being detained? What am I being detained for? What's the crime? If you can't articulate that, then you shouldn't be asking me for ID. Suspicion is not a crime. I'm not your young punk out here doing stuff. I have to be 56. Leave me alone.
We just like to identify people and stuff. And
that's not the law.
From our viewpoint, if we see, like, it doesn't matter what age you are. I've seen, like...
Yeah, but you have to be suspected of committing a crime, and I'm not committing a crime. You can't articulate what crime. Suspicion is not a crime. And he came after I parked. So There's no moving violation. There's no nothing. He already ran my tags. I'm legit, so I just don't get it. Your demeanor is better. He needs to learn how to de-escalate. Because we're on live, too, and everyone's seeing this. Suspicion is not a crime. I'm sorry, sir. You know that. I'm too old for shenanigans. I know you have to stick by your people, but that's wrong. He's wrong.
I wasn't here for the original
I know,
encounter, so
I know.
I can't say
The
how
way
it
you
was.
approach me, totally different. You guys took an oath to upload the Constitution, and that is not right what he did. I was parked, about to get on my car. I didn't do nothing wrong. You know, if I was in my 20s doing stupid shit, I get it. You know?
From the start, the officer appears more concerned with asserting control than gathering facts. Ron respectfully requests a supervisor, and instead of honoring that with professionalism, the officer escalates. Interruptions, vague accusations, and the constant pressure to ID, despite no crime being articulated, create an unnecessary power struggle. Ron holds his ground calmly but firmly. Now let's get this straight. Suspicious activity is not a crime. In Georgia, as in the rest of the country, an officer must have reasonable, articulable suspicion of a specific crime.
I hope you all heard that. That's exactly what I say. I always specify reasonable, articulable suspicion of a specific crime, whereas most will just say crime.
Simply sitting in a car with your dog in a known problem area doesn't cut it. Detaining someone without reasonable suspicion can constitute an unlawful stop under Terry v. Ohio and potentially a violation of Fourth Amendment protections. Notice the subtle profiling here. The officer starts grouping the man in with others who hang out in the back lot, implying drug activity without a shred of evidence. Ron, who is nearly 56 years old and clearly composed, pushes back on being lumped in. His calm insistence on being treated as an individual, not a suspect based on location or age, highlights just how often stereotypes play into initial police contact.
The sergeant has now arrived, so let's see what kind of spin he puts on this.
So here's the deal.
Not a good start.
I get what you're saying. I get what my officer's saying.
Well, it's suspicion activity. I said, you got your ID? Suspicion is not articulating what type of crime that you suspect me of. I asked him if I was being detained. He was saying, well, you're being detained because of A, B, C, and D. No. I didn't commit a crime.
I got you. So we do have reasonable articulable suspicion.
What is
right?
that?
Reasonable articulable.
No, what is my regional?
No. I'm
Okay.
laying into it.
Okay.
So we can, in different circumstances and circumstances like this is a known area that we do have narcotics.
Mm-hmm.
They do like you do. They back in, they park here. We have people traveling around. They meet up back here, all right? We also have people that come back here for other nefarious activities with relationships and things of that nature.
Uh-huh.
We also have people that park cars back here. And we also have people that do park back here. People go out, they break into the cars, they meet up, they take off.
Mm-hmm.
So I get what he's doing, but at the same time, I see you're like, hey, I just parked my car, about to go inside.
Right.
So I'm not going to demand that you show me ID.
Thank you.
All right, my fellow Sherlock Holmeses, why do you think the sergeant is stuttering and stammering right now? I wonder if it's because the subordinate is right there listening to everything he says.
No, I just want you to understand where he's coming from, because we do have a lot of activity back here. And I'm not to say that you're one of those people, but we don't know, right?
Right.
And usually we don't know unless we identify people.
How many people would know what to say in a situation like that? The sergeant just said that, well, we don't know what's going on, and that's why we get people's ID. Now, how is that going to tell them whether or not the person's involved with criminal activity? That's the stuff that's got to be shoved back down their throats.
I explained it. I expected, for him to de-escalate instead of not let me explain why I was here and get an attitude with me. As my uncle, who's a retired police officer, I was just telling him, he said, you gotta be careful because that's POP, pissing off a police officer.
I got you.
And
And you get that. Not to say that that's what his issue was,
his demeanor was 10 times better than his demeanor. Sorry, that's just how I feel.
but as it is right now, you're free to go.
Thank you.
Well, at night, right before I go to bed, if I've defeated Satan that day, I like to do a little superior dance. Join me, boys.
Anyone want to venture a guess why Ron went home a free man instead of being thrown into a cage that night? There you go. And not one time did he say, is that a felony or a misdemeanor? I hate it. It doesn't work. Stop saying stuff that doesn't work. This parroting of what people see in other videos and the first-time auditors and cop watchers, is that a felony or misdemeanor because they heard someone else say it? Be original. Stop the limited thinking, right? That's the theme. Stop limited thinking. You're going to hear things on my channel you're not going to hear the big boys talk about on their channels. Why are police unlawfully detaining people? Because they're suspicious. Why are they unlawfully demanding ID from people? Because they're suspicious. What is the common denominator? Why did we have the exercise at the beginning of this video? Now you know. The root cause of all these unlawful detentions and unlawful demands for ID is over suspicious. If you're not able to move the needle off of suspicious, bye-bye, you deserve to be thrown into a cage. Pay attention to how Ron handled himself. He knew exactly what to say almost at the perfect time. And he never lost his cool. He never used profanity. He never lost focus. And that was, take control of the narrative. Don't let them push suspicious. Challenge them to articulate a crime and let them know you don't get to make one up either.